Freeganism, living for free.
Freeganism itself is just not exchanging money, I think.
I'm a freegan, basically, to some extent. Yeah, it's a weird word, isn't it?
I think that freegans, it seems like it's like a pejorative term sometimes.
For me, freeganism, or taking food out of supermarket bins, has one motivation, and that is to indicate that the food that is in there should never have been put in there in the first place.
I got into freeganism because I told someone that when I'm out at a party I will not eat food, but I will eat people's leftovers because I feel selfish and greedy to take food for me, but if I'm helping waste then I feel better about it. And they said, oh, you're definitely freegan, and at that point I had no idea what freeganism is, but then I looked into it and I thought, this is really me. The food thing only started at uni. I mean, all my life I've been brought up to always look for the little yellow stickers in supermarkets and never to buy things full price because it's not really worth it. And you know, when things are a better brand, it doesn't mean they're better quality, especially these days when there's so many qualities that have to be cemented in things. When I went to college after school, I was really into spending my EMA on making myself feel happy, like retail therapy. But then when I came to university, I realised that this is serious now, you can't just buy happiness. And seeing as I didn't actually get my loan for a year because I had trouble with the banks, and it really put everything into perspective for me. There's this house my friend Molly lived in last year, and I used to come and see her all the time at night. And I used to find huge bags of bread that were perfectly good. They weren't stout. I don't know why they took them away. But I'm going to see if they got some today. So yeah, there's no bread today, but look, they just tucked them away nearly full. I don't know. It looks pretty fine to me. I might have that for my dinner. No, see, slim pickings in there today. I wouldn't want to be a freegan and get that. I'd be very lucky if I was actually frugal and had no money. Just check some off. On food a week, I would have to say I spend about £3 on average, because lots of weeks I don't spend anything at all. I have my friend Bradley, who's also a forager, and he goes to Sainsbury's and gets all the really cheap goods for like 10p a bag or whatever in the evening, and he buys me those things, and then I bring him things from my house, because our house has apples, it has grapes, it has figs, and I use the pumpkin from Halloween, so we just sort of keep each other alive that way at the moment. Hey! We've been dumpster diving. I dropped the grapes, but I found pizza. But...
Okay, cool.
It's got chicken on it. Pepperoni's going to be a lot more red. And it was in a sealed bin, and it was all boxed up. It was all like sealed shut. I had to pull them open when I opened the bin, and they hadn't been touched. There wasn't anything else in the box with them. My brother used to teach me, because he went travelling a lot when he was like backpacking when he was younger, and he said in all the old tribes you can hang meat for like months and it can get maggots on it, but as long as you kept it in a controlled environment it doesn't go rotten, and then you can eat the maggots and you get another free meal. So it's like you're not going to get ill. You're not going to get ill because there's no bacteria in it, so it's not going to make you ill. So if anything, you're farming your own food.
Since I was a very young boy, from the age of say 6 onwards, I lived my life among people who also ate wild food, and it came naturally to me to eat mushrooms, seeds, nuts, rabbits and things like that, because I was surrounded by it, living in small country villages. So to me it wasn't anything strange, but as I went through my early teens I decided to experiment in a different way to what other people would do, and that was starting to eat everything I found. And I realised it was all clean and organic, and the animals were wild living, so they weren't reared up on cruel factory farms or anything like that. So when I found dead animals, I just preserved their skins, which I started to do from the age of 14, and I just naturally started to eat them. I was just curious enough to do that, knowing that it was okay to do so. I mean, I wasn't going to be poisoned by that meat. We're going on about a 30-mile drive outside Bournemouth towards Salisbury via Ringwood and Fordingbridge, and hopefully we'll find a couple of pheasants, rabbits, maybe a squirrel. You never know what we're going to find, to be honest. You can find anything. All my meat simply comes from roadkill animals. I don't like to contribute to the food industry, although a lot of it is fine. I haven't got a problem with a lot of it, but if there's animals here on the edge of the road, then why not use them? I hate waste, and to know that an animal has just been killed and then it's just rotting, good for nothing, I think is a wicked waste. I often eat rats. I love rats. They're actually my favourite meat, believe it or not. Beautiful tasting. You can taste minerals in it, like salts and things. So it doesn't need any herbs or spices. But I take them home, put a bit of stir fry, absolutely delicious. I'm being careful not to contaminate myself with any of its blood or urine though, because that's where disease can be carried away.
I've never got ill from anything I've eaten at all. I don't eat meat, so that probably makes a difference. You know, obviously with veg you can see if it's going off, or milk, or any dairy you can kind of smell. So, you know, you just make sure you kind of wash everything and it's fine, you know. Well, yeah, we usually go when the shop's shut, and yeah, like for example, where I've been skipping in London, this particular place, there's always loads, like there'll be like at least two massive bin bags full of like bread and cakes. Okay, we've got some walnut loaf, muffins, here we go, donuts, loads of cookies, loads of bread in there, loads of milk, box of Thornton's chocolates. I think that's all more bread. Runner beans, bananas, loads more bread there. Don't know what that is. Loads of veg, loads more bread. Juice, more bread, we don't need any of that. We never had a lot of money when we were growing up. It's not something that, say, my family have said, oh, you should live this way. But I guess from not having much money ever, you kind of learn how to live cheaply. I think it's definitely worth recycling. It is a good idea, but then it's, on the scale of things, it's like, it's a tiny minuscule amount that's actually going to help. You know, it's the big corporations that are going to fuck everything up. So
I set up Food Cycle in 2008, and basically I heard about an idea from the United States called the Campus Kitchens Project, and I was really interested in what local communities in America were doing, and upon research over here, I found out that very few organizations were doing this nationally. So I decided at that point, you know, for me to kind of foolishly run into this thing and see what we could do, which was to combine surplus food, volunteers, and a spare kitchen space to create nutritious meals for people at risk of food poverty.
Yeah, we just got to McCarthy's Whole Foods in Norwich to do our weekly pickup for Food Cycle Norwich.
Well, we're local business, family business. We're fifth generation. Moved to the site just 2 years ago, and since then we've been involved with lots of things. One thing was we were approached by Food Cycle to look at, you know, the possibility of using produce that we might otherwise throw away. At the moment, any green produce we do, we recycle it into composting. But there are goods that we have which are perfectly okay to eat. They may just be cosmetically not quite right. So of course, it was ideal.
I'm volunteering for Food Cycle and tried to mobilise the Norwich hub of Food Cycle, just because I think it's a really good thing. It's, you know, there's so many facets to it. I can't, you know, begin to list them all. But I mean, I feel like, you know, there's improvements that can be made.
Yeah, we're pleased to be part of the Food Cycle. It would be a shame if the produce that we had went to waste, and obviously prices in the supermarkets are quite high. And this is goods that are really going for nothing. It's just nice to have somebody that can use it locally for a really, really good cause. It's absolutely fantastic.
So, off to Norwich.
Great.
You know, for us, it is for people who need a nutritious meal, but also a really nice place to hang out and feel at home as well. So we work with refugees, we work with the elderly, we also work with the homeless, but we work with anybody in the community that values a nicely cooked 3-course nutritious meal.
I think it's brilliant. If you had as little income as I have, then you really value it too. I'm here today primarily for food, because I'm 3.5 stone underweight, and I have been coming for quite a few weeks, and I now help them. I'll put these tables up, and I help outside, or I'll do whatever they want me to.
This is about food waste. This is Feeding the 5,000 2011. We've got a lot of charities who've come together, and the issue is how much waste there is of our food.
Boris was just now giving a guy from Russian television a wonderful example of calling it that we have carrot dysmorphia, like we have body dysmorphia in our society and only like things that are perfect, and we've ended up applying that as well to our vegetables. And in fact it is that supermarkets want them to fit certain shapes and sizes, and we have to just stand up against that, especially now.
Households waste about 8.3 million tonnes of food a year. That costs the average household about 640 quid a year. In the for-profit sector of the hospitality industry, we waste about 600,000 tonnes of food a year. About 2/3 of that is avoidable, and it costs us about £725 million a year.
We've collected a series of wonky carrots from a produce supplier which have been deemed not suitable for supermarket trade, and therefore we are asking the public here to select carrots and bag them up for us, for us to then distribute to something like 70 charities within the London area from our 2 depots in London.
Yeah, so Friends of the Earth is here to highlight the issue of food waste and the fact that for that waste that can't feed people, a lot of it can feed animals, and it's so much more of an efficient way of using that waste and using that resource than chucking it in landfill sites or incinerators, and it helps protect the environment overseas because we're importing such a lot of animal feed from South America, which is trashing forests there, so it's a win-win situation.
Feeding the 5,000 today has absolutely been a wonderful result. We had the mayor coming down earlier today and a lot of other film crews, Al Jazeera we were on before, so really great stuff.
Something for nothing. Fill bellies, not bins.
I like to make creatures a bit more presentable. So I want to wash it, get all the blood off of it. So for stir frying I will cut nice thin pieces off this venison. It's nothing like fresh venison, it tastes so delicious. So we're just going to use part of the breast of this pheasant now, along with the venison. It's actually still, that's baking hot. It's really warm, that is. You can almost feel its heart beating. Peppers. You can make a stir fry in under 10 minutes basically. I'm going to put the meat in later because it's so easy to overcook meat. That's really delicious. Tastes perfect.
When I was researching freeganism, especially for my dissertation, I loved the quote that it's negative consumption. It's the idea of instead of taking something, you are giving something back. That's quite a cliche. It's just the idea that you're respecting where everything's coming. Instead of chucking something away, it's just like never chucking anything away. It's understanding that everything is a cycle and nothing is ever no good anymore. There's always positive in everything. Even when something becomes compost, it's still changing, so it's not really waste. It's still a changing state, and we're still taking it in through vegetables or through the air. So in a way, I'm saying there's no such thing as waste.
Maresy dotes and dozy dotes and little lambsy divey, a kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? Oh, maresy dotes and dozy dotes and little lambsy divey, a kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? Now if the words seem queer and funny to your ear, a little bit jumbled and jivey, say mares eat oats and does eat oats and little lambs eat ivy. Oh, maresy dotes and dozy dotes and little lambs eat ivy, a kiddly divey do.